Good afternoon to everybody present here. Today, I'll be talking about how we can use time to tackle the global phenomenon of climate change. But first of all, why should we address climate change? Okay, we know that it's a severe crisis that we need to face. So let me rephrase that question. Why should we, the average people, consider and care about climate change? Well, according to NASA, the global average temperatures has risen by 1 degree Celsius since the pre-industrial period. This number rises by 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade. Research by WHO shows that 3.6 billion people, billion with a B that is, are in danger. They all live in areas that are susceptible to climate change's effects. 250,000 people are estimated to have died in the future due to climate change between the years 2030 to 2050. 2 to 4 billion US dollars are estimated to be the damage caused directly to health just per year by 2030. But again, it's not in our control. Why should we care about it? Let's just have somebody else take care of it. That's a thought that probably comes into most of our heads. We're all preoccupied with our education, our jobs, and I wouldn't blame you if you don't get the time to even think about such a vast issue. The main enemy is time. So if we don't have the time, how can we even begin to tackle such a vast topic? Of course, let's say the past few years, India has seen a sudden increase in the occurrence and the severity of extreme weather conditions. The most devastating of those including cyclones, heat waves, heavy rainfalls, flash floods. I remember discussing this with my friends a few days ago, and I was shocked to see that many of us didn't even know about this. With the lack of awareness combined with the lack of resources, we can't do anything. We simply don't have the time. But if we don't have the time, then who does? If everybody keeps waiting on somebody else, at the end of the day, nothing will happen, and we will all continue to slowly kill our planet. Well, to actually take action, we need to focus on 3 things: self-awareness, ideation, and implementation. Only if we're self-aware will we get motivated to actually take action. That motivation will help us create innovative solutions that can be implemented into the real world to tackle this issue. But again, we're back to square one. We don't have the time. But what if I say that everybody, regardless of who you are and what you do, can tackle climate change? You can take action. How? Simple. You need to just know that you can do it, I did it, and so can you. And that's why, let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm the brand ambassador of Tisya, and I've involved myself in a myriad of activities like dance, programming, music, the list goes on. And this is all on top of my academic and professional duties. Even in the midst of this, I have found myself being involved in other actions that I use to contribute to society. For example, I raised awareness about cancer with Teens for Cancer patients. I organized a city-wide food package donation drive with the help of the Bangalore City Police during the pandemic times. I raised funds with Fund the Child for the education of girl children. But one thing that did bind me was time. I started one task for the day, and suddenly it's tomorrow. It didn't make any sense. With time running out, I barely could keep up with my personal tasks, much less tackle a global issue. I remember during one of my workshops, I asked all the attendees, and they all said that most of them never were able to stick to a schedule that they made. It wasn't implemented in the long term. So how do we do that? Well, if we can manage time, we can control time, we can make time to create an impact. And let me tell you exactly how you can do that. You can adopt the 6P method to tackle climate change. That is, plan, prioritize, perception, procrastinate, pressure, and practical. This is my tried and tested method, so rest be assured it could work. Plan. Right, we need to start there. When should we work? How long should we work? Are you a morning owl or a night bird? Or how long can your brain effectively work before completely shutting down? These are all things that are highly personal. So comparing yourself to others is going to be absolutely useless. If you can work for 10 hours, that's great. 3 hours, amazing. 1 hour, no problem. Also, after you hit your limit, make sure to incorporate breaks, because without a break, you can't work effectively. The longer you work, the longer is the break. My personal recommendation would be to cycle through activities of various kinds. For example, let's say after studying, I would like to either practice dance or play guitar or work on my essay, and then I would probably watch a documentary on climate change while eating dinner, and then read my favorite book before I go to bed. This way, I can minimize burnout, and at the same time, I've also got myself to be more aware about our world's condition without actually compromising on my productive time. By multitasking with my dinner and my documentary, I have become a more aware individual and still didn't actually take out time to research. Then, prioritize. In what order should we do our tasks? That's also a huge struggle for me before, when I couldn't really figure out what to do first because there's so many things to do. So an easy way to do this is with the priority matrix. The tasks that have a closer deadline and require high effort go into box 1. Ones which have a farther deadline and require less effort go into box 4. Similarly, the other boxes can be filled, and these are disordered 1, 2, 3, 4. Easy, right? We now have a definite order that we can follow, and it makes our task list a little less daunting. At the same time, I would recommend something. You can take out 20 to 30 minutes of brainstorming ideas how to tackle climate change and put it into box 3. Putting this into a daily to-do list, it's going to be quite not a big deal. And of course, you can't come up with a good idea every day, but doing this consistently is bound to create some innovative solutions that we can implement. Great, we have a schedule. We know what order, but how do we actually time block? Our inaccurate perception of time actually messes up our schedule a lot. I say one time I was doing an assignment and I thought I would take just 1 hour for it, but guess what? It took me about 3 hours to complete it. It's like 3 times. And that messed up my schedule. I had so much backlog after that. So, of course, one thing would just be to double it. Double the time you think it would take to actually do a task. While this may not always work, it's a very good base for people who are just new to time blocking, and this will help you eventually improve your perception of task time. Now, if you still don't finish the task, that's okay. A lot of block for backlogs. If you do finish it early, that's great. Use the extra time as a method of reward. Use that extra time as a break. Because we wouldn't want to punish ourselves after doing this accomplishment. We finish a task early and we need to associate it with a good thing. Having it associated with more work is just going to create a negative association and help with our motivation levels in the long run. Another thing that I would recommend to do is, in your break, you can maybe learn a new skill, like crocheting or crafting. With this skill, you can maybe tinker around with items around your house, create smaller items that you can proudly showcase, or even, sell around your neighborhood as handicrafts. This way, we can reuse old items, reduce waste, and at the same time, maybe get some funds. Great. But here comes our main antagonist, procrastination. How many times have you maybe scrolled through social media for hours and then realized that the day's over? Or maybe binge watch your favorite series and then realize midway that you have so much work to do. But then still continue to watch the series, but now stressfully. Been there, done that. So, how do we tackle procrastination? First, we need to identify the cause. It's mainly because we're kind of afraid of the looming amount of work that we have to do. I remember one time that I had to give a speech for the World Peace Museum, and it was on a topic that I wasn't really aware of. I didn't know anything about it, and that made me think that it's so much work. I had to do so much research into it and really sit down, brainstorm, and write. It was so much work to me that I started to avoid it. What I did to break out of the cycle of procrastination was the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself that I'll only do this thing for just 5 minutes. That seems more doable, right? And the major struggle with me, at least, was that I couldn't start an activity. Once I started, I gained the momentum to keep going. But even if I didn't, at least I did that activity for 5 minutes. And that's better than nothing. 10 minutes later, I can try again and again. And eventually, all my work is over. We can also split longer tasks into shorter ones. And these tasks have self-imposed deadlines. So the shorter tasks will keep popping up into the boxes 1 and 2 of your priority matrix so that you can keep doing them. Of course, here is an anomaly of sorts. Pressure? Why pressure? Shouldn't we get rid of pressure? While yes, we should strive to minimize it, we shouldn't really eliminate it completely. Pressure and stress acts as a motivator of sorts, but only in the right amounts. If you're not stressed for an upcoming exam, would you really study for it? I'm assuming no. But sometimes the internal motivation to do something doesn't really spark up. So we can use external motivation. One method I use is time lapses. I record myself in a time lapse, and the added pressure of at least looking like I'm working helps me actually work and complete my task. Another thing is to keep yourself accountable. You can ask your peers or classmates, parents, family, anybody, and have them check up on you a few times in the span of the next few hours. Tell them what you're going to do, and to save yourself the embarrassment of saying, oh, I did not do anything, you may just end up finishing your work. Another thing is that we can use the accountability strategy into tackling climate change. Easily, let's say my birthday is on the 13th of December, and I like my birthday very much. So, on the 13th of every month, I plant a sapling. Just 15 minutes or 20 minutes of my time of one day in a month. That way, I'm also actively working towards it. And I told all my friends and all my family about it. So one of them is bound to ask me, hey, how's that sapling doing? And that's going to keep me accountable and make sure I do actually do it. Finally, we should be practical. It's simply not realistic to eliminate all leisure activities. It often becomes synonymous that, oh, if we're working hard, no breaks, no TV, no shows, no friends, nothing. And while that may sound like a true grind, it simply isn't realistic. We're not machines. We need our time to unwind and relax. So we should not really cut out on our fun times. And I say, don't eliminate, but regulate. Incorporate this time and have a balance of it. One thing that I did was carpooling with my friends to, let's say, my coaching location or any other place that we have to go for maybe a project or anything, right? We carpool and it would be filled with just loud karaoke. And it's a fun time. And at the same time, we also used a shared transport or a public transport. So we're also actively helping cut emissions of greenhouse gases. Also, after having a break, a breather filled with laughs, I felt my mind is clearer and more ready to take on a productive task. So finding that balance is the key over here. Don't cut anything out, but instead figure out how you can regulate all the things that you need to do. And personal care is also a huge thing. It's important to you. Now, of course, we know the 6 P's. We know that now we can master time, we can control it. But also, we know how to take action against climate change. But just these small things that we're doing, will they actually work? Surprisingly, yes. Let's take the example of the birthday sapling. If everybody present here in this room plants a sapling on their birthday every month, we'll have 100 saplings a month. Granted, we have 1,200 saplings in a year. That just shows us that with collective group effort, even small actions can create huge impact. So we need to make sure that we actively make the choice to take out time and implement these simple choices into our daily routines. Of course, you need actual proof, don't you? So let's see. According to World Health Organization, reduced emissions due to better food, transport, and energy choices actually result in huge health gains, especially creating the fact that there's reduced air pollution. This just shows us that these simple choices benefit our health, benefit our planet, and benefit everybody's well-being. So let's tap into the collective strength of humanity. Use our love for this planet and channel it into actions and choices that we can use to make this place a better place to live in. Use the 6 P's to take out some precious time and incorporate these choices into your daily routines. Together, we can tackle climate change and make this world a better place. Thank you so much.